Hello everyone, so I've recorded this intro like 6 times because I want to make them concise and I just keep rambling. So I've always wanted to make a mill deck work, and coming back to the game and seeing Zemo, that is the first archetype that I jumped on and started working on trying to find something that worked. So you have the core package of Yondu, Cable, Zemo, and Gladiator to get all of the resources out of the opponent's deck. So you can use Yondu strategically. If you're playing Gladiator, you probably want to play Gladiator first, and then Yondu, especially if you're doing it on like turn 4, because then Gladiator has a better chance of being able to pull something that he'll actually be able to destroy, versus Yondu taking out that lowest cost card, and then Gladiator pulling something that's probably a little bit harder to take out. Same thing with Baron Zemo, but in reverse. You want to play your Yondu first, and then drop your Zemo, so you have a better chance of drawing a high value resource from Zemo. And then outside of the mill package, you're missing a little bit of power. So how do you kind of bring home the rest of the game with a lot of either high power or high tech cards? So for the power slot, we have Sentry. Sentry is such a just burst of easy to use power that is very critical. I think without Sentry, this would be very hard to win 2 locations consistently. Sentry allows me to focus on one location with the potential downside of the void in the right location. So how do you avoid that? You can either use Professor X to lock that right location ahead of time. You can cap it out with low cost cards and having a Jeff so you can move that card out eventually. Or you can use Annihilus. Annihilus allows us to kind of use that lever and use that negative void against the opponent, which if it goes off is such a game changer. And then in addition to that, we have Hood. If we're using Annihilus, we might as well have that extra resource from the Hood to potentially send them some more negative junk. And then finally, rounding out the rest of the deck, we have Alioth and Red Guardian. Red Guardian is critical in taking out some low-cost cards that your opponent is really relying on. Invisible Woman, Sunspot, Collector. A lot of those high-value, low-power cards can be countered and taken out by your Red Guardian. Iron Man, Dracula, just to name a few off the top of my head. And then Alioth, if you have priority, being able to stop some of those critical plays like a Silver Surfer into a Wong location is going to be game changing and a lot of times can sneak you those 8 cube games. So having that Alioth feels very, very viable, and I have enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I am going to keep the deck explanation relatively short so we can jump into the gameplay. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. It's much less daunting. Oh, and actually they can't do a cloak because we stole it with Cable. And they do move a Vulture into the rickety bridge, so I'm definitely going to have to sneak my Jeff over in that direction. It is what it is. It's okay. Nothing left in the deck for Baron. We could do Sentry plus Cloak, give up Murder World entirely, and just hope that they don't have a Jeff. Is really the only thing I think could impact this at this point. Is if they have a Jeff. And so I'm going to go ahead and lock in mid. I'm not going to snap because I'm still feeling out what kind of decks are around. Red Hulk. That is a strange kind of mid movement deck, and I'm here for it. I'd be curious to see what these last 4 cards are. Good game, She Who Remains. The Professor X, even though he has less power, can still be really potent if you have the means to support it, or if you can tell where they're going to play more often than not. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, so the very second opponent we have is going to make it hard for me to pronounce their name. I'm going to call him Sokka. My brain gets lost in the additional letters. So, Sokka, I apologize I didn't say your full name. We're going to go ahead and play Yondu. See, and Yondu is, I think, fits this style of archetype incredibly well now. Being able to take away their lowest power or lowest cost card gives you some unique information. If you take out a 3 cost card, you know that anything that's left is 4 or above cost. And so you can really judge if you want to use Gladiator, if you potentially want to use Baron. It gives you some really key pieces of information. Plus, it makes your hits with Cable just a little bit more successful, a little more often. So let's go ahead and throw Cable. I'm thinking right now, tentatively, we do Sentry in the left lane, Alioth in the left lane, because Crown City is a pretty decent way to get some additional power in Washington, D.C. We have Hood, which is going to be nice for getting an ability list card into Washington, D.C. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do Hood and then Ghost Spider, which I'm sure that you guys don't know because this is the first video back. Ghost Spider is my daughter's favorite Marvel character. They have the little cartoons for kids for Marvel, Spidey and his amazing friends, and she loves Ghost Spider. I wish she was a better card. I wish I could use her more often, but she has a very niche use. I like the niche use, but it's just not useful everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Sentry, and then we are gonna go Professor X, and then Annihilus to kind of push this right lane. And they haven't played anything for the first 3 turns. Maybe their curve is incredibly heavy. I don't know, but as long as I have initiative going into turn 5, we should have no problem locking in a 16 power Crown City location with Professor X. We don't have to worry about Shang-Chi anymore, and we can really kind of dig in from there. I'm going to take a second to read this card because I haven't seen it before. The first time another card moves here each turn, move it to another location. Cool. So that seems like a really cool movement style lever or hybrid. 2 movement decks in a row. I haven't felt that movement is in a particularly strong place. Better than it used to be. It definitely has more tools than it used to, but I haven't ever felt like this is the deck to beat. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my gut impression was wrong. We'll see. So he did throw Spider-Man 2099. First time he moves, he's going to destroy a card. And so if they don't have Ghost Spider, and I think that's the only way they're going to move him over. Maybe they were anticipating using like a Heimdall to shift him here. I don't know. We're going to go ahead and throw Annihilus. We're going to go ahead and throw Demon into mid. That should clear up this location, give us a good lead in the right lane, a good lead in mid. So wherever they play, I think will be okay. They do have initiative. They grabbed that after that last turn. Let's see if they stick this out. With a movement deck and having a location locked in by Professor X, it's a tough stay. It is a very tough stay. He does stick it out. So the Iron Fist, that's going to move Dagger over, which gives her a pretty big surge. How are they going to get into sewer system? Oh, the negative, I'm guessing they weren't anticipating me clearing the negative 14 over there. And so invested very heavily into mid. We will take the cheeky win. We actually almost cheat out and sneak out with the Annihilus and Demon in mid, plus the extra surge from Crown City. We will take it. Let's go ahead and jump into the next one. All right, next up we have Kirby. The first location is Oscorp, perfect for my hood. We don't have to worry about drawing Annihilus, especially since we don't have him in hand already. Perfect to see that location come down. We have Red Guardian, Gladiator, both great resources for us early on. I would hope to see next turn either one of our 2-cost cards, so Cable or Jeff, or a Yondu. That way I can fully use my energy either between the Demon or those cards. Ideally, I would say Yondu or Cable. Jeff would just be acceptable. And so they do have Quinjet coming down. Snow Guard, so it's a Loki deck. Clear-cut Loki deck, no doubt in my mind, which is still very, very scary to this day. With the Snow Guard, we got a copy, so they'll have a Snow Guard as well. They may potentially cancel out Oscorp on turn 3 so that, no, they don't play the Snow Guard, so that the cards wouldn't switch sides or switch locations. But they decide not to go with that, and I'm okay with it. Because then we would have to kind of play around that to a point. Crown City is a cool location for us. We now get Yondu. And so next turn, we could actually use the Yondu into Baron, like I used previously, to pull out their lowest cost card and then play their next lowest cost. And so I almost want to do maybe a Red Guardian here. Take away their Quinjet bonus. I do like using Red Guardian for a collector or another maybe important resource that they have. So maybe Gladiator, but they do have quite a few on reveals that could be beneficial. I'm going to go Red Guardian in mid, call that quality. They did use Juggernaut, bold, and that is built into their deck. Wow. Interesting. Interesting choice, Kirby. They were hoping to push from Crown City over into Oscorp so that I would lose those resources. I'm glad that we did not fall for that shenaniganry. Juggernaut is still wild here. I don't know if this is a Loki deck anymore, or if Juggernaut actually fits into the Loki archetype. I don't know. We are going to go Yondu and Baron Zemo. That feels like one of the best bangs for my buck. It will make Gladiator, and for me, I would almost not want to use it unless they are completely out of cards now. So another 3 power card. So it could be Cerebro? A Cerebro that uses Quinjet? Interesting. We do get we get Red Guardian. So Juggernaut is no longer in that mix. I'm so good. Is this a Cerebro deck? It's a lot of 3 power cards sitting in there, but also a lot of not 3 power, like Snow Guard. Guess we'll see. The card that we pulled was 3 costs, so anything higher than that is a little bit scary. I think we go Gladiator Cable. We're just going to mill the rest of their deck. We're going to get that perfect, almost perfect information. We're going to get more information about what kind of deck they're running. If they're still hoping for a Mystique draw, a Cerebro draw, if that's what they're going for, then this will be able to stop it. Looking at this deck, I don't know that they have too many high-end cards that I'm worried about. So it doesn't look like an Electro Ramp where I'm really worried about pulling in Magneto or any of those really high cost, high power cards. So Agent Coulson actually does them a little bit of a favor and gives them some extra resources before getting taken away. And then the last card, Devil Dino, is huge. I am glad we did it in that order. And he does use Loki to switch his hands on this final turn. Very, very scary. So right now we're winning these 2 locations. We could just dump the Devil Dino here. They would have to do Shang-Chi and something else, and they don't have the Quinjet. So Shang-Chi and another 4 or more power. They would need 5 or more power because we win the point differential. I'm just going to go Devil Dino. And we could go something like Goliath if we wanted to be try to be a little bit safer. But I think Devil Dino, and then if we can win this location, we get a lot of benefit in these others, making it a lot harder for them to stick it out. They have a lot of resources, so we'll see. Maybe they can get it. Gladiator, interesting one. They're going to pull out one of our cards, and it happens to be Jeff, so they do get the benefit there. But with Devil Dino, we still outpower it. The Sentry, huge resource for them in mid. It actually swings that back in their location, but they're not able to overcome the 13 power that we have in the left lane. So we are able to hold that one down. Loki decks, because it introduces that element of RNG, it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what that point value is going to be at the end of the game. And that to me is why he is so either scary or potentially frustrating to some. All right, next up we have Tran. And the first location is Krakoa. So your first play here adds its power to the top of your deck. Interesting. That is a different Krakoa than I'm used to. Last time it was more like a mini ego where you just don't get to play your cards on certain turns. And so Quantum Tunnel can get kind of fun too, especially with things like Baron, with Professor X. They're going to go ahead and rotate a Jeff into a Red Guardian. It gives us some good information about what kind of decks they're running. Copy the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. So they have our Goliath. We have their Doctor Doom. Ooh, this looks like a deck that probably is pretty tall. The first card you play here at its power. So I'm going to do Sentry. That is going to be the first card that I play into Krakoa. No doubt about it. Let's go Baron. I don't want to accidentally rotate into Annihilus until we have Sentry down. So I also don't want to waste that first left lane of the Krakoa with the 5 power of Baron. So they have Hope Summers. They're going to be pushing a lot of extra energy. Ooh, we got their Kitty Pryde, which is so nice. And it was at the top of their deck. So we got the Hope Summers +4 bonus from Krakoa onto Kitty Pryde, which is so fantastic. You love to see it. I'm going to go Sentry. They did snap. I don't know what they snapped for. Unless they... I can't even fathom what place they're in that is good enough to snap. I just can't do it. So we have the Sentry. We have the decent Kitty Pryde. Sentry is going to give our next card in deck. Maybe it's Annihilus. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. A very big +10 power surge. They have the Angela. I think I'm going to go Professor X in this left lane, maybe? Annihilus. That is the biggest Annihilus I have ever seen in my entire life. I am a little afraid that they're going to get more than 7 power here this turn, which makes it kind of tough for me to lean as far into that. We know that they have a Doctor Doom, so I need to lock that left lane in. They go 1 card. It is the Doctor Doom. They get the extra, so it's a 7 power play. We are tied in that left location. We have the big Annihilus coming down as well. So it comes down to a tiebreaker unless they can cheat extra power over here. So if they have a Jeff, which this deck very well could run a Jeff, if they don't run a Jeff, this is such a massive power swing, going from -5 to plus 16, plus 20, plus 29 in this lane, which is crazy. We have to be able to beat this tiebreaker unless they have a way to lock this in. Cosmo, they fill up this location. There's a couple of ways that they can do it. We know that they don't have the extra power card from Hope Summers. In the Kitty Pride, they can't push any more to that left lane. We'll see if this is enough. I'm confident enough to stick it out, but not 100% confident that I'll win. There's a lot of room to get surprised at this point in the game. They could rotate a card and get a lucky top deck out of Quantum Tunnel. Not the direction that we're going to go with here, though. So they do play a Vision, and Jeff rotates into Red Hulk, which is that massive power surge that they needed. We are going to push the -10 power Void onto their side because that was played first. Hood will get destroyed. Is that enough of a gap? It's not quite enough. That Red Hulk rotation was exactly what they needed. We needed just a tiny bit of extra surge in that left lane. It happens. There is room to get surprised. We had a decent idea of what they had, and it came down to what do they rotate and pull out of Quantum Tunnel. All right, next up we have RAR. They're just missing the XD at the end. Now, the last game I did lose, and typically I don't showcase losses all that often, unless they're really interesting. But at this point, with where I'm at with the gameplay, there are going to be some times where I make a gut assumption, and I think there's interesting information in knowing why I decided to stay or why I decided to make each decision that I made, and ultimately, if I got surprised or not. Being able to anticipate what the opponent is doing is such a critical part of Marvel Snap, and just having that little bit of, I guess, uncertainty and making those gut decisions. You're going to have to make the gut decisions where they are. Sometimes they're going to be wrong. As long as you can learn from them and not get surprised by that same thing, or if you take a calculated risk, which we did in the last game, there is a lot of room for benefit and just having that extra knowledge there as well. So the Sunspot and Maximus, this could be a Silver Surfer deck. I'm going to go ahead and use Red Guardian before Sunspot gets out of hand, because at some point they're going to have to skip to clear these rocks in this left side. So I'm going to use Red Guardian to take care of Sunspot right away. No. I may or may not get Red Guardian down, but what I do know for sure is that I am going to go ahead and use armor. We're going to lock in the rocks in the left lane, and that is enough for me to snap. We got the armor from them. I almost forgot about this cheeky play, which is so frustrating from the opponent's end to get hit with an armor whenever you haven't skipped a turn yet. But we'll see. Storm comes down. Interesting. So they didn't skip any energy this turn either. The left lane is ours, unless they have a way to buff it, which maybe, but it's going to be very limited in how much power they can place there. We have a lot of good use in like a Sentry in this location, or if they're planning on extending the game, we have the Red Guardian plus Demon, plus Annihilus on the last turn to get rid of the negative Hood. We take out the Sunspot so that next turn, when I assume they skip and absorb that energy, it's not going to be as valuable. So the Colossus, wait, Colossus? See that right? So confused. There's no way Colossus is anything more than he was before. He's an okay card, but not pivotal by any means. There's no way. Right now, they do have the lead here, getting rid of -3. They have 2 3-cost cards in this location. Okay, well. We will go ahead and take the 2 cubes. And that is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. Thank you guys as always for being here. I hope that you guys enjoy. Later, guys.